When people hear the word delusion, they think something is broken, but modern neuroscience shows delusion is not random. It's the byproduct of normal brain functions pushed to extremes. At the core, it's predictive coding. The brain doesn't simply record reality, it predicts it. Incoming sensory data is constantly compared against internal models. If the mismatch is ignored or reinterpreted, you get what looks like a delusion. One key player is dopamine. Research shows that delusional is often tied to abnormal dopamine signaling in the mesolimbic pathway. Dopamine doesn't just make us feel good, it teaches the brain what to pay attention to. Too much dopamine, noise, and the brain begins attaching meaning to irrelevant stimuli. A random billboard suddenly feels like a message meant just for you. Neuroimaging studies of schizophrenia reveal overactivation in the striatum during delusional episodes. This area assigns salience or importance. When it misfires, neutral events get coded as deeply significant. That's why someone may feel certain that the neighbor's cough is a proof of conspiracy. But delusionality isn't always pathological. Positive illusions, overestimating your control, luck, or attractiveness, are extremely common. In fact, studies from the late Shelley Taylor showed that people with mild delusional bias actually cope better with stress, recover faster from illness, and persist longer on harder tasks. The healthy mind may need just a dash of delusion. Even the default mode network, the brain's self-referential hub, plays a role. When it dominates, we weave narratives about ourselves that may or may not align with reality. This constant storytelling is what makes human beings both creative visionaries and susceptible to magical thinking. So that could potentially mean that delusional isn't an insult, but a feature of human consciousness. What if the same neural machinery that lets us misinterpret reality also powers imagination, spirituality, and innovation? And we all know neuroscience is now showing we are not seeing reality as it is. We are predicting it. You can't really see all of reality in front of you. And I tell you that from personal experience. And sometimes when we make those predictions in our brains, they drift from consensus. And that drift is what psychiatry calls delusion. So your cortex isn't a camera, it's a prediction engine. It builds a model of the world, then compares incoming sensory data to its predictions. When the mismatch or prediction error is low, you feel reality is stable. When it's high, your brain updates, or if it can't, it starts hallucinating or deluding. This isn't fringe. Carl Friston and Elseth and others call perception a controlled hallucination. In other words, delusion is just prediction gone too far. So neural labs show us constantly. Visual illusions like the Kanziza or hollow mask exploit top-down predictions. Even when you know it's wrong, your brain insists. And how about the placebo effect? Measurable pain relief, immune shifts, and even dopamine release in Parkinson's patients when given fake medication. And then there's apophenia, the tendency to see patterns or faces in random noise, which is linked to activity in the temporal parietal junction. These are all the same mechanism as clinical delusion, just milder. So studies with fMRIs, PETs, and pharmacology point to Salience network modulated by dopamine. So when dopamine spikes, random events feel charged, meaningful, or personal. This is called aberrant salience. That's why a healthy person on high-dose amphetamine can start thinking billboards or sending messages. It's also why people with schizophrenia describe coincidences as conspiracies. So too much dopamine, prediction errors mistag as significance, and delusional belief begins. But here's the twist. The same network underlies creativity, intuition, and problem solving. Functional MRI shows that creative ideation lights up salience in default mode networks, the same circuit implicated in psychosis. As neuroscientist Bernard Crespi put it, schizophrenia and creativity may be two sides of the same coin. So your brain's pattern seeker can be tuned like a dial, innovation on one end and paranoia on the other. So if reality is rendered through our brains, Delusionality is the bug window where the render overfits. Anil Seth calls perception a best guess from noisy data. When the guess is shared by many brains, we call it reality. When the guess is private, we call it delusion. Neuroimaging literally shows prediction error signals like mismatch negativity firing differently in people prone to psychosis versus controls. In other words, the drift is measurable. This isn't fixed. Training changes prediction and salience. Mindfulness meditation reduces default mode network activity and improves interoceptive accuracy. Long-term meditators show less reactivity to random prediction errors and better error updating. You can stabilize your renderer. Delusionality, it's plastic. Belief updating can be trained. You can literally sculpt how your brain weighs priors versus sensory input. And this is why we all need to be a little delusional. Every big leap starts with a belief others call impossible, a productive delusion. Functional MRI of entrepreneurs and big idea thinkers show more default mode salience co-activation, suggesting greater comfort letting weak signals become a strong hypothesis. Too low, and you're a gray algorithm. Too high, and you're lost in your own world. But at that sweet spot, delusionality fuels vision. So delusion isn't a glitch, it's a spectrum of how your predictive brain works. The trick is learning when to tighten your priors and when to loosen them. Because the brain doesn't show you the world as it is, it shows you the world it believes in. We're all running on a private render of reality. Sometimes that render overlaps with everyone else's, and sometimes it doesn't. The question isn't, are you delusional? It's, are your delusions helping or hurting? Choose the ones that move you forward. So remember to always take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, I know you are all going to manifest magic and resonate on your highest frequency.